can be sitting, standing, lying down. And you are welcome to turn off your camera during this time. We will go ahead and do the sit for about, let's do it for about 25 minutes. And then I will ring a bell at the end. It might sound a little mechanical due to Zoom, but I'll ring a bell at the end. And I'm going to start off with some guided meditation. But if any of the words, they aren't resonating for you or it's distracting, just use them as a way to mindfully follow rise and fall of sounds through those particular sense doors. So as we settle and connect, we can start by thanking the earth. And we can, in whatever stationary meditation we're using, we can send some gratitude to the original people of the lands that we're on, who are still here. We can extend gratitude to the Buddha and these teachings that arose in India and that spread across the rest of Asia. These teachings that have been so lovingly shared, so many practitioners across the entire globe. What's been shared in North America for generations through the Asian diaspora. So send gratitude to all of the protectors of the Dharma. And all of the protectors of the Dharma that exist today, speaking up about having space and protecting these practices and pushing against harmful structures. So just a tremendous amount of gratitude for the opportunity to connect with these practices tonight. And as we connect with more stillness in the mind, maybe beginning to unwind a little, we can connect with our bodies. And that may be only the contact between our body and the surface. Maybe the surface that our feet are resting on, if we're sitting, legs, torso, really anywhere that there's awareness of your body. Maybe just even a breeze across your skin. Just noticing. And then if it's comfortable for you, you might want to connect with your breath rising and falling. Or maybe sounds rising and falling. In every moment, no breath is the same. No in-breath, out-breath. Just like sounds, even if you've heard a sound that you associate with like a dog, for instance, every bark is actually a little different. So we can just be with rise and fall, rise and fall. And we are supported. The earth is holding us right now in love and gravity has us. So we are entirely held right now in love. And feel free to bring in any resources that would feel comforting right now. It could be gravity, but it could be bringing in, connecting to some individual, some being that you get support from. Could be ancestors, queer ancestors, trans ancestors. Someone who's writing or speaking comforts you. Feel free to bring them in. Just calling in, resourcing. Supporting your being in your body, being present. And where there is no ease, just sending love and compassion. You can even imagine sending to yourself something that you need. Just love and compassion. So we'll go into some silence now. Just remember that you've got the grounding, gravity, if you need resourcing, calling that in. And letting all the silt settle, the mind becomes more calm over time. Water becomes more clear. And remember, you can also always return to an anchor. Our sense doors can be a great anchor. Sensation, sound. If your mind has begun to wander, or maybe it's still just a lot of thoughts, you can imagine them just going by like leaves on a river. And if there are any emotions or thoughts coming up that are more intense than that, make sure to send yourself some love and care. So, in our last few moments, I'll say some metta loving kindness phrases, which you can extend to yourself uh, if that is the right thing for you at this time. May I know joy. May I be at ease. May I connect with the kindness within myself. And may I be gentle to myself and to others. And may all beings know joy. May all beings be at ease. May all beings connect to kindness. May all beings be gentle to themselves and to others. So I'm just offering an opportunity to stretch, to come back to the room. If your eyes have been closed, maybe look around. Maybe if you have some water, take a drink of water. Oh, somebody just asked, what is my cat's name? My cat's name is Jazz, like the music. When I adopted my cat, Jazz had been given the name Jasmine, and this extremely tough little cat seemed more like jazz music than a very beautiful but delicate flower. So you might see the cat kind of fly back and forth in the background because my cat owns everything here. I am staff. So yeah, so tonight, thanks, Oliver. Tonight I'm going to be talking about the 7 factors of awakening. But first, I wanted to kind of bring in, context isn't quite the right word, but a few other things around that before I talk about the 7 factors. And then at the end, have some discussion time because to me, Sangha is about all of this wisdom that's in the room, all of the wisdom that we have, that we share. And it's really powerful and important. So a friend sent me this quote today, and it was, "You are not alive to conform to soul-crushing social expectations. You are alive to actualize your highest purpose by waking up to your inherent creative nature as a living miracle wearing a temporary human disguise." And that was apparently by James McCrae. I tried to do a few searches to make sure that was the case. Didn't get verification, but that's as much information as I have. But I really loved that quote. And there was a beautiful conversation yesterday with Alok V. Menon and Sonia Renee Taylor and Adrienne Marie Brown. I'm only halfway through because I both keep rewinding to listen to parts over again, and then also I seem to keep getting kicked out of the recording and then have to go back in and figure out where I was. So, but there was this part that I heard early this morning that is, I'm kind of like still holding it and sort of digesting it and also feeling really tender about it. So Alok, they reminded us that the harmful structures we are within, in terms of structures of dominance, those structures have done everything they can to tell us a story that unless we conform to certain, and I would say unobtainable criteria, we will get less love, that love is scarce. And the ultimate truth, though, is that love is actually not scarce. Yes, there are absolutely times as human beings, we may feel not connected. We may be receiving, with what has gone in our lives, we may have received a lot of hurt and pain that is not ours. And so we can sometimes feel that connection to love can be very hard to come by. But the ultimate truth is that love is the most sustainable energy that exists in the universe. And that controlling lie, the lie that pushes us to change and conform or try to remove what makes us unique and beautiful and at home in our bodies, we need to walk away from that lie because it's not serving us. And it was like there were all these pieces kind of like came together, these pieces I've been thinking about for a long time with what Alok said. So when I talk about Buddhist practices, it's really important to me to think about Buddhist practices as practicing to awaken, but it's not about changing ourselves, to become something different. It's not like capitalist culture, which around the new year is suggesting changing ourselves, or magazines full of tips on becoming different and trying to head to something that is are these unobtainable and really harmful suggestions of what one must be to get love. So so when I'm talking about Buddhist practices, I like to ground in that first, because awakening is awakening to who we are. Awakening is coming home. The powers of domination really would like us to be in a trance, because that does create a situation where they can have more control. But Alok's talk what Alok was speaking about really reminded me that when we're born, we're in touch with who we are. And then there are all of these pressures that we go through that can cover a lot of that up. And when I first started Buddhist practice, I was trying to get away from how I was feeling, which was a tremendous amount of reactivity based on an enormous amount of stuff that I had gathered through growing up and adulthood, and even generations of things that have been passed along through my family. And I had deeply unsettled emotions that were about how I couldn't access my actual gender, my gender that was like at my core, my place in a gender galaxy, rather than a binary that was a construct. And this isn't to say that there isn't cisgenderedness, but just that there's this whole gender galaxy. It's not like a line with like two dots, that there are just all of these different ways to be. So I'd had really dis-ease at what I had to shut down in order to survive. But through these practices, through community, especially in queer and trans and gender nonconforming spiritual community, including Buddhist and especially Buddhist, and then with other beings in this world that are really dedicated to love and awakening, I've realized how much about spiritual practice for me is about uncovering and opening back up. And then also having support and taking paths that are nourishing, even though they aren't the untruths that I'm told about by power. an important friend of mine said recently, it's really about remembering. And there's actually a beautiful song in the Plum Village tradition about remembering. I am remembering, that a friend sang. So it's these practices are about uncovering and being able to get home. And then also Sangha is so critical and important because, and Sangha can be many different ways. It can be Buddhist community, but it can be nourishing friendships and really valuable speakers like I was listening to this morning that support us, that can really help us find that way home and help us remember. In the middle way, like I've I think for me, like the middle way is like a zigzag. I feel like I kind of like get sort of towards the middle and then I veer off and then I go, uh-oh, and then I kind of go back this way and then I do it again and again. And I think a lot of times those turns when I like head back towards the middle again, they do come from practice, but also the remembering that comes from practice and the remembering that comes from spiritual community and being in community. And yeah, Larry Yang, his book, Awakening Together, it's awakening together and the way that we do this together. So in the 7 factors of awakening, I just wanted to ground with that first, because I think also when I first started with practice, I kind of felt like I was like, I've got to go do this thing and I'm doing it by myself. But we are living beings on a living planet, interacting with all of these things all day long. There is interbeing. So I think it's really good to step out of that and also think of it as a journey. I was thinking too, like at one point, there were some things I was thinking today where I was like, wow, I feel like I've thought these before. Am I really going anywhere? Is it just like a big circle? But I think it's actually more like a spiral. If you turn the circle, you look and it's a spiral that goes out. So the 7 factors of awakening are 7 mental capacities, and they are considered inner wealth. And one of the best things about these 7 factors, as I was looking back at them again, is that they're here for us right now in every moment, and they're really simple. So much of the suttas are full of really powerful but straightforward, distilled, simple information. But the 7 factors are really of other learnings are really, really simple. So they're really nice to lean into. And so the 7, they're also called the 7 treasures, and they're mindfulness, investigation, energy, joy, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. And these are even considered to be treasures that protect and support us when it comes to pain and adversity. They free the mind and the heart from all forms of bondage and suffering, and they incline the mind toward liberation. It's one of the things that I've read about them. And the practices are really simple around these. So it's a wealth that we have right now that we can continue to nourish. And one of the nice things about simple is it doesn't have to be striving and pushing and effort and trying to make it happen. It can be more like, what are the seeds that you want to water and grow? So when I grow a sunflower, there's not a tremendous amount of effort on my part. It's about patience and care and tending to the sunflower, and hoping that the squirrels do not dig up the sunflower seeds before I get there, but putting the seeds in the ground and adding in the water. So the other thing about these is that there are going to be times when some parts of them feel out of reach. And because they're 7, there may be some other part of them that feels in reach. And also, it's just important to remember with any of these Buddhist spiritual practices, if you can't access them at some point, just know that they're nearby, like that they will come back. That it's like getting protected from binaries. That there are more possibilities, and also often there are other ways to access these practices. Watching time. So I'll say really quickly, we'll go through the 7 really, try not to go too fast, but, with mindfulness, you can practice mindfulness through just when you take out a dish from a dishwasher or a dish rack, or putting on a sock, making a cup of tea. Just, can I be there the entire time? A lot of times instructions focus on the breath. I have asthma, so sometimes the breath doesn't feel like a comfortable place to be, but you can even practice mindfulness of just raising your hand up and down if that is comfortable for you. Or, like I said, just other daily things. And then investigation is investigating the qualities of what we're being mindful of. So that can be an engaging practice when engaging in some mindfulness. And the energy one, I can get like a little tense about that, because it seems like with adulting, I just seems like so much energy out. But again, this isn't about striving. It's just that little bit of energy, like the energy of planting the seed in the ground, the energy of adding the water, just the energy of turning yourself towards, I'm going to be mindful in this moment, and just investigate and be mindful as I do this task. And like one of my favorites is joy. Humans, we do have a negativity bias and very, very real life experiences that we are holding. And there are so many things of joy, just a moment of gratitude. And Thich Nhat Hanh talks about kind of lifting up things that are neutral and bringing it into joy. So I'm pretty sure that he had talked about the joy of not having a sore throat. Like, there are these things that I don't notice until there is discomfort. And so just bringing in that joy and nourishing joy and where it exists. And that is also a very powerful act of resistance, really reaching out to joy and being like, these things are all existing, and power, you cannot take my joy right now. Tranquility, that's another one that can be just gently sought and sought out when all kinds of things are going on. Like when my hummingbird friend showed up between massive downpours recently, the hummingbird was so tranquil, even though I was so worried about this hummingbird during the massive downpours we had. And then equanimity, the letting go of outcome. So clinging and craving, worrying, those aren't equanimity. That's being focused on the outcome. So I don't actually know the future. My imagination can come up with terrible things, but that's my imagination. Are there very real things to be concerned about? Absolutely. But wise hope is different. Wise hope is being aware of things and also engaging in hope, being aware of truths and also engaging hope. And equanimity is bringing in the possibilities and not being attached to outcome. So you can even use phrases, may I know what this in-breath is as it is in this moment. May I let go and be mindfully here in this moment, connected to joy. May I connect to tranquility in this moment. And if I can't find it within, maybe I can see stillness in a chair or in the trunk of a tree or in gravity. So my suggestion over the next week is maybe think of it as like making a cake and all the ingredients that go in the cake, and just try out again for, and if you're a deep practitioner, you've done a lot of these, just bringing it again, like the simplicity of the 7 factors. And so